This is a tutorial on how to create Minesweeper in Open Processing. This is going to be a series of tutorials that will go through all the processes. Alright, so we've got a brand new sketch open, and the first thing I'm going to do is go up and save it. So I'm going to call it Minesweeper. And just going to submit that way. We've got it saved, and we're going to make sure we're going to be saving a lot during the process. So let's get into our code here. We're actually going to muck around with these creating the canvas size, and we're not going to use the window width and window height. We're just going to set this to a nice even, let's go 400 by 600. And we're going to get rid of a background up there, and we're going to get rid of that circle. So that's going to get us set up at the start of our project. Now, if we run this, you'll see it creates a, hopefully, oop, it's not going to show us anything because we didn't draw a background in here. And 100, and we put that in the drawer so it updates. And there we go, we've got a square or a rectangle there. All right. What we're going to do now is we're going to set up some of our other files. Now, we've already created previously in previous sessions, we've got a couple of tabs open here. We've got our button program, our timer program, our grid program, and I'll link in the description those tutorials that we've already done. You can find on the channel. So we're going to go and create some files up here. So we're going to go to that little plus symbol, and we're going to double click on that. I'm just going to rename that one, and we go button. We're definitely going to need a button class. I'm going to create another one, and this time we're going to create our timer class, because we're going to need those two things. We're going to need a couple of other tabs, but we won't get to them yet. So our button class, we're going to go to our button. This is our button code, and this it's pretty old code, but we've got our class here. We're just going to copy paste this class. Now we need to do a little bit of manipulation, changing. Make sure you grab it all. If you want to, just Control A on the keyboard. Control A grabs everything. We're just going to copy it. We're going to come back to our Minesweeper and we just paste that in. That's all we need to do really there for the moment. We just dumped in our code, and that's all we got there. So we're going to do the same thing for the timer. So we're going to go to our timer tab. We're going to go to our timer class at the top here, and we're going to grab our timer. And we're just going to copy paste that. So if you haven't done those yet, make sure you go do those so that it's easy for you just to come and grab what you need. Now, that's good. So we've got our main sketch here, which we could even rename that one and call it Minesweeper, because that might be a nice thing to do. And we've got our buttons, and we've got our timer. Now we've got a couple of things we need to change, because we changed them in our other projects, and that's another project we need to open up. Let's just open our, which one? Quick types. Yeah. Let's open up this project just because we need this one as well, and I'll explain why we need this one in a second. So, what have we got? We've got our main, we've got our button, we've got our timer. Now, in our timer, we've got to change something. We need to make our timer count up. We didn't write one. We only wrote a countdown timer. And we got reset, we got display time, pause, change duration. But we never wrote a function that actually did count up. So we're going to write that first. And we're going to go there on to line roughly 18, just under that one. And we're going to go count up. And we're going to put it in our brackets. And then in here, instead of this line here that we've got, that is for counting down, we're going to copy that. We're going to put that one in there, and we're going to go up. And at the moment, we don't want it to stop. We just want it to keep going up. We'll stop it later. We'll pause it probably. We'll probably use the pause function, which we wrote down here. And we'll have to write something in here for when we want to pause, but we'll do that later on. We just want it to be able to count up, and that's simple as changing that minus that was there into a plus. This is all the same code. We want our delta time divided by 1,000 because it's in milliseconds, all that sort of thing. So we're going to leave the timer alone now. But on the other hand, we need to do a little bit of editing to our button class. And the biggest thing is we only want it to be able to click once. And that was sort of like in our clicker. And if you haven't gone and seen the clicker one, maybe have a look at that. But we're going to have to add in a bit of code. And the first thing we really need to do is we need to get one of the simple little functions that we used when we're doing our button. And that is in this clicker assignment. Now, you could copy paste from the projects, or you can write it out in full. But we're going to copy this function, and we need to add that into our Minesweeper. We're just going to add it under draw here. It's out of the way. Don't need to worry about it. We do need to, however, at the top here, create now a variable for our is mouse clicked. Yeah. And programmers, they like to be lazy and copy paste stuff. And we're going to set to false to begin with. And then there's one other place we need to put this. We need to put this in the draw function right at the end. Is mouse clicked to false. Okay. We're going to make it false. And then we've got this function here, which is a special function. It's mouse click function. And each time you click the mouse, it will come true just for that round of code. So just for that one cycle in the draw loop. All right. Now we're going to go back into our button, and we're going to edit one thing. And if it goes up all the way to the top, we've got our constructor, we've got our update, and in our update, we want to change this line of code, this line here that says if inside the button and if the mouse is pressed. We want to change that to our new variable is mouse pressed. Not is mouse pressed, that was what was written there. Mouse clicked, and if it's true. So that will now be the same. Go back into here. This will now only activate when we click the mouse. That just means our buttons can only get hit once. It won't spam click and get some weird errors going on. So that was what we updated in the button. That's all that needed to be updated there. And this one here in the timer, we just added the count up. We're going to add to that later, but we'll leave that one alone for the moment. I'm just going to save. Saving is an important thing to do after we've done a little bit of work. Now we're going to go back to the Minesweeper. Minesweeper. Wow, can't talk today. All right, so that's all we're going to do for this one. That's setting up the basics of stuff that we've really already done in the other projects. And then the next one we will start getting on to setting up our grid, which is more important. All right, that's it for this tutorial.